Welcome to Module 3. In this video, I'm going to walk you through email marketing. I'm going to show you exactly how to email your list successfully, including what to say, the importance of creating templates, when to send your messages, how many times you should send those messages out, and how to incorporate email marketing into your other forms of marketing. Now, before we begin, I just want to recap the previous videos. In video 1, I walked you through how to create your website from scratch, including where to go to register your domain name, how to choose a hosting plan, and most importantly, which website builder you should choose for creating the website. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I recommend going back to that first, because getting that website online is really important, and that's something that you want to do as soon as possible. In video 2, I walked you through how to drive traffic to that website, thanks to Google Ads and also YouTube marketing. So that's an excellent way to drive traffic to any website. Especially if you're just getting started with wholesaling, or maybe you've already been doing it for a while and you're just looking for another way to start generating leads. YouTube ads are a fantastic way to do that. So now let's talk about video 3, cold emailing, or email marketing as I call it. Now, email marketing is important because you already purchased a list. You already have a list, and on that list you should have multiple email columns for the addresses for the owners right here, just like this. This is a common list that you probably have seen, examples of time after time when you've purchased leads for yourself. As you can see, it has the first and last name of the owner, their city, their address, city, state, and zip. Very, very common. It's a typical practical list. And on the list, you're going to have multiple columns for emails for the owners. Now, there is the question of should you send an email to every address on the list? The answer is you could do that, but I recommend just sticking with emailing the first column on your list, simply because the first column is typically the most accurate email for the owner. So you want to keep that in mind. And then when it comes to how to send the email messages out, so there's a number of different ways that you could do that. But the best option that I recommend to everyone, when it comes to emailing a list, is to use Gmail, or for this video I'll call it the Big G. The Big G is important because it's free. You could set up an email account today if you don't have one already. I recommend that if you do have a Big G account, you want to make sure that you set up a second account. You set up a second account just for your business, because you don't want to send an email to your list using, let's say, your hosting account, because then it's possible that they could get word of that and shut you down. Because I'm speaking from experience. That happened to me about 10 years ago. I sent an email to my list using my hosting email address, and somebody responded negatively, and that shut my website down, and I had to choose a different hosting platform to go with. So for email marketing, I always use the Big G, simply because it's easy, to use, and everybody is familiar with it, and it's easier to use this email account, for my email marketing, this service, versus anyone else, because with the Big G, you could send 500 emails per day. So now, when it comes to email marketing, you don't need to send more than 500 per day. So what I recommend is creating, a secondary Big G email account, and then basically using that for your email marketing efforts. You want to make sure that you connect the new account to your phone, so that if you're out and about during the day, you could check your Big G email account on your phone and see those notifications coming in, versus always having to log into your account on a computer to check to see when people respond to you. Now, the next question is, when should you send your messages? I recommend sending your messages out during normal business hours from 8 to 5. Because you want to think about, when are people most responsive to email, and it's usually when they're at their computers, when they're at work, because they see those messages come in and people respond to email even when they're at work. So you want to send a message out from 8 to 5. And then thirdly is the question of what should you say. So now when it comes to creating messages, you don't want to send an email marketing message on the fly. You want to create a template in advance. You want to have a well-written template that's all laid out, so that all you have to do is just copy this template and paste it, into the message, and then send it out. Now, your email message, starting out, it should reference your other attempts to contact them. You should say following up to see if you got my blah, blah, blah. It could be either a voicemail, it could be a postcard, or it could be a text message. But you want to reference that so that the message sounds like you're following up with them. Because as I mentioned earlier, there's many people out there that will respond better to email marketing versus text, or better to text message versus email. So if you're communicating with a person who checks email all the time and maybe they respond to their emails better than other marketing methods, you want to make sure that you reference those other attempts in that first line of your email, just like this. And then secondly, you want to mention how you can help them, because when the average person is reading an email, the first thing that they're going to be thinking about is what's in it for me. So, you've already made it clear that you're trying to reach them about their housing situation. Now you want to talk with them about how you could help them. You want to reference that it's a stressful situation that they're in, and that you've helped out tons of homeowners, over the last, couple of years, especially homeowners that face foreclosure, crippling debt, et cetera. You want to mention those pain points in the second column of the message, so that if the homeowner that you're trying to connect with is facing foreclosure, something like that, you want to hit that pain point, so that that's something that will grab their attention. And then thirdly, but most importantly, you want to include a testimonial in the email. You want to put it right in the middle of it, so that if they're wondering why they should work with you, you want to mention that testimonial, because it's social proof. It shows that you've helped other people and that you could give them confidence and peace of mind that they should work with you. So if you have testimonials from people that you've helped, or you haven't gotten testimonials yet, you want to reach back out to the people that you've already done deals with and ask them to send you a testimonial, so that you can put it in your marketing email. And then most importantly, as we get to the end of the email, you want to talk about how you're willing to take on their home if it's in any condition. Because it's very possible that the homeowner can be saying, well, I'd love to sell my house. It's a problem house. I just inherited it, or something along those lines, but it's trashed and I have to clean it up, and I got to spend, a couple $1,000 cleaning it up before I can get out of it. So you want to mention that as you close the email, so that if that's the reason holding them back, from contacting you, you want to tell them, hey, I'll take that house on, regardless of condition, so that they know they'll have confidence and peace of mind in knowing that, they can get out from under it, even regardless of the shape that the property is in. So, and then last of all, but not least, you want to have a call to action. You want to talk about, mention that, if they're still interested, they need to reach out to you, or you want to give them a stronger call to action. For more information, contact me at, you want to put your phone number there, or just tell them to reply to the email. And then last of all, but not least, you want to wrap it up, with your signature. Once again, you want to have your business name listed right there, the phone number, and then at the end of the message, you want to include an opt-out. You want to tell them that if they don't want to receive any more messages from you, you want to put the opt-out here. So just so that they know if they want to be removed, all they have to do is just reply with the words remove, and then you'll take them off your list. So, but you want to have that opt-out at the end of the message. I recommend to many people that they put it in as a PS, just like this, and then just keep it really simple. Like if you no longer want to receive emails, me simply with remove So, whoops, there we go. So that's a strong example of an opt-out. You just want to make sure that it's noticeable, at the bottom of the email, because people will be scrolling. People will be scrolling down to the bottom of the email, so you want to make sure that they receive that so that they see it and they know, hey, if I don't want to receive messages, additional messages from this person, I could just reply with remove me, and he'll take me off of his list. So now putting it all together, I'm going to show you how this is going to work. So once you have your template, just like this, you're just going to copy it. You're going to go back to the big G, and you're just going to paste it in here just like this. And then, of course, where it says name, since you're just going to do one email to your entire list, you're just going to, the way that you're going to do it is you're going to say, hey, it's So if your name is Bill, for example, you're just going to say, hey, it's Bill from blah, 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 just like that. And then at the end of the message, you're going to want to make sure that you put in your name down here, business name and everything, just like I said. Now, in the subject line, you want to reference, that you've been trying to reach them. So you just want to say something like, I recommend starting out with the RE because that makes it look more professional, like you've had a previous contact with him before. And then you just want to say something like this, following up. Now, if the list is a specific city or state, like let's say you're targeting Atlanta, Georgia, what you want to do is put in a keyword for the city or state that you're marketing to. So if it's Atlanta, you want to say Atlanta home, because then that's another keyword that piques their attention and gets them to open up because they know that their home is in Atlanta. It is in the Atlanta area, so you want to set it up like that. Now, when it comes to the font, obviously you don't want to send an email that looks like this with super huge font. So you'll copy it again. You'll just come down to here. You'll choose normal font, just like that, so that it looks more normal. And you want to make sure that you put in your testimonial in here. So whatever testimonial that you have, you just copy it from whatever source that you have it on, paste it in there, and then also maybe include a picture of the person that wrote it. Now, when it comes to how to actually add the email addresses to the Big G, so in the to section right here, you want to put in another email address that you currently have, for example. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the list that you purchased, and then for this column, you're just going to click on it to highlight the entire column. So if you're not a fan of working with Excel, all you have to do is just click on the top part of the column just like that, so that it highlights the entire column in gray. You're just going to right click on it, and you're just going to choose copy, just like that. Then you're going to go back to your Big G account, and you're going to choose BCC, and you're going to paste that in there, just like this. And now it's going to paste all the email addresses into the column, just like that. And you should see them all in here just like this. Now, what's great about working with the Big G is that they'll tell you if any of these emails are not deliverable, meaning that maybe they're the email address was entered into the list incorrectly, and so that gives you the opportunity to go through the entire list before you send it out. When the email addresses are copied into the actual email itself, to make sure that you have them all formatted incorrectly. Like, for example, this is probably the footer of the email column that I just copied. So I'm just going to remove that. And then all you have to do is just kind of scroll through and look to make sure that they're all set up properly. And then before sending out, you want to look at your message again. Make sure that you have the subject line set up correctly. And then you just want to review the email one more time, make sure that there's no spelling errors on here, things like that. And then you want to send it out. Now, the great thing about working with the Big G is that you can also schedule it. Like, for example, let's say that you want to schedule it to go out in an hour. You just click on this drop-down arrow, and you could schedule it to go out, at whatever time that you want to send it. But keep in mind, 8 to 5 should be your benchmark time that you send the emails out every day. And then also keep in mind that you only want to use just one account, and you don't want to send more than 500 per day. So like right here, this list is 178 records. So, that shows you that, if you send out up close to 200, I would just round it to 200. Then you have to look at it and say, okay, I only have 300 messages left that I could send for this day. And then, so you just want to keep that in mind, and then just either schedule it or send it out. And then basically just, if you're still working full time, you want to make sure that you check, your Big G email account multiple times throughout the day, because people are going to be responding to it. So, people will be responding to your messages. They're going to tell you, I'm not interested, take me off your list. And if that's the case, then, you just want to make sure that you look for the email address that they respond from and say, okay, John Smith. Then you want to go back to your list, find the email address on the list. All you have to do is just press either Command F if you have a MacBook like I do, or you're going to do Control F on your keyboard if you have a Windows keyboard, and you just paste the email address in there. It'll find it on the list, and then you can just remove it. So that way you can email your list again, but while having confidence that the person who previously requested that you remove them, that they will be removed from your list, and you're not going to send a message to them again. Now, next comes the question of how many times should you email the list that is part of the leads that you purchased. I recommend emailing your list, let's say every 48 to 72 hours. You don't want to email the list, every single day, because that would be spamming. It would be annoying to many people, and you would get a lot more negative, comments than positive comments. And you have to remember that when it comes to marketing, some people need to see a message from, a company at least 3 times before they respond. So you're going to be emailing some people, and they're going to be seeing it come in, and they're going to be thinking, okay, I really need to respond to that company, and they just haven't done it yet. So, initially message the list every 48 to 72 hours. And then, after you've been marketing to the list for a while, you want to spread it out. Maybe start, messaging the list once a week, and then once every 2 weeks, etc. But you never want to stop messaging, sending emails to your list. You want to keep that as a regular rotation, regular part of your marketing, even after you've purchased a brand new list. You always want to make sure that you use Google Calendar, so that you schedule it, so that you can say, okay, I need to go back and message that list again. I haven't done it in a while. And then also, thirdly, you want to make sure that you purchase better leads. You have to know that skip trace leads are not always the best. And unfortunately, this list has been skip traced. So the better way to get, more efficient leads moving forward is to work with a lead generation company like Natty Mark. I'm going to provide you with the address to that website here. So Natty Mark is a lead generation company. I recommend working with them because they are a data provider. So you can go to nattymark.com. It's NATIMARK.com. Just go to this website and tell them what you're looking for specifically. Say, I'm looking for homeowners in, the area code 91977, and I want to connect with homeowners that are facing foreclosure. And Natty Mark can help you to pinpoint that search down to the last data point so that you know specifically that your list is 100% qualified. Because when you're working with skip trace leads like this list, there's a possibility that a large portion of these leads are going to be, incorrect, and that's just kind of the way things are when you deal with skip trace leads, is that, a portion of them will be good, but maybe a portion of them will not always be, the best people to contact. So whereas working with a data provider like Natty Mark is always better. And then keep in mind that once you do connect with a great lead generation company, you want to make sure that you don't share the lead generation company that you're working with, with other people. Like if you have other wholesalers in a group, you don't want to say, hey, I'm working with, Natty Mark, they're my lead generation company, give Bob a call over there, because then, what that's going to do is that's going to send, potentially, dozens of other wholesalers to the same company. And if those people are working in the same city as you, then you would effectively be marketing to the same list as, potentially 10 other people. So it's best, to keep your data sources to yourself. Make sure that you always incorporate a variety of data sources into your marketing. Create a Rolodex or a file of companies like Natty Mark, and then just, keep a record of how the lists that you purchase perform for you, so that you can always go back and say, okay, the last time the list that I got from Natty Mark was great, I'm going to purchase another list from them again. And then maybe the next, when it comes to to purchasing another list after that, say, okay, I'm going to search for another data company and kind of see if there's other companies out there similar to Natty Mark where I could get my lists from, because you always want to keep trying new data sources. You want to keep incorporating fresh new leads into your marketing efforts, while at the same time, you don't want to discount, you don't want to just throw away the lists that you've been marketing to and say, I've already called that list, 2 or 3 times and emailed it about 5 times. You want to keep sticking with it. In the way that you successfully do that is you schedule it. If you've already called the entire list once, you want to say, okay, I'm going to give them a call back next month. And then you want to schedule it. And same thing with email marketing. if you've already emailed a list multiple times, you want to always, mark it down in your Google Calendar and say, okay, I have to send an email blast to that list next week. That way you're always staying in front of people and you're always staying on top of their mind, so that you could build what's called top of the mind awareness, so that once they're finally ready to make that decision to sell, they're going to think of you first instead of thinking of working with a realtor. Because you have to remember that if they're facing foreclosure, or let's say they have a distressed property but they just haven't taken the steps to sell it because it's trashed, a lot of people are not going to want to work with a realtor, because the realtor is going to make them go through the hoops of getting that property ready to sell. Whereas if you come in with a marketing message and saying, hey, I'm easy to work with, I've helped tons of people before, and I'll take that distressed property off your hands, they're going to want to work with you. They're going to want to talk with you about what you can offer them, and they're going to want to utilize your services versus a real estate agent or another competitor. So once again, this video covered pretty much everything that you needed to know about how to utilize email marketing successfully, including which platforms to use for it. Once again, I recommend going with the big G, as I called it, because it's free. I recommend creating a second account for your email marketing efforts to use for that. You could also use other platforms like Constant Contact, for example, but the downside of those platforms is that they require you to ensure that your list is all opt-in, which many people are not going to want to opt into your list so that you could send them marketing messages. So the way to get around that, the workaround, is to use the big G and utilize the tips that I recommended in this video. And then once again, just make sure that you reference your other attempts to reach out to people in your marketing message. Tell them, just follow it and say, I wanted to see that you got my voicemail, my postcard, or my text. You want to mention that you're trying to reach them. You could even say in your subject line, I'm trying to reach you. For example, you could say something like, for a sample subject line, and then you could put in, the homeowner's name, Bob Smith, and then follow it up with, I'm trying to reach you. Or you could say, hey Bob, I'm trying to reach you. You always want to personalize the email subject lines. Always put in the homeowner's first name into the message, because that's what's going to grab their attention. And if you put in, I'm trying to reach you, or if you start out with attention and then their first name and last name, that's going to grab their attention. So that's another way that you could email people individually on the list if you wanted to. So, but I mean, obviously, if you just want to send a one blast to people all at one shot, like I just showed you earlier, then instead of putting their name into the message, you could just say something like, I'm trying to reach you, and then just follow it up with, say something like, are you still interested in selling your house? Oops. Just like that. So it's personalized. It shows them that you're trying to get in contact with them, but then you're also mentioning their house in the message, and that's going to pique their attention. So I hope this video has provided you some helpful tips that you can use for your email marketing efforts. And just remember that you want to incorporate this regularly into your other marketing channels. Don't neglect email marketing, because I've seen many wholesalers just look at the email addresses on their list as being something additional, but they never use them correctly, if at all. So you want to make sure that you're including email as a regular part of your outreach efforts, because ultimately that's what's going to be successful in helping you to get across to more leads and convert those leads into deals. So thanks again for watching this video, and have a great day.